Ready? Halo Outpost Discovery was supposed to be the ultimate fan event, a traveling Halo circus of sorts that was supposed to appease to the general and the Halo superfan. I'm accompanied by my lovely wife, Rachel. How are you doing today?
Doing great.
I'm so glad you decided to join me in what I'm going to call the airing of grievances.
Okay.
When I pitched the idea of doing a video, before I could even finish telling you, do you want to join me? You said, yes, I want to come talk about this. So
I did
you're
indeed.
very passionate. We have nothing to open today, but we're going to talk to you all about Halo Outpost Discovery. We're going to talk to you about VIP tickets versus general tickets. We're going to talk to you about the general experiences, the lines, the merchandise, the app, everything in between. Yep. So this is going to be a long video, but I wanted to put it out there. I should say we wanted to put it out there because we've seen a lot of positive spin on this, primarily from the press, talking about their VIP experiences. But as us laymen who waited in laymen and laywomen, I guess, who waited in line in the trenches and kind of got a better feel for what the general person is going to see, I think we have a very different opinion. Agree with that?
I would agree with that.
Okay, so let's start off first and foremost with the ticketing process. You could either buy a general admission ticket or a VIP ticket.
Or you could buy you could buy 1-day passes, or you could buy the 3-day pass.
That's correct. VIP gets you, I think the general admission was like $60 and VIP was $140.
Yeah, plus fees and whatever else.
That gets you, the VIP gets you access to the VIP lounge, which was a special area that had snacks and...
So do we want to talk about the VIP lounge right now?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so
go ahead, lay it out.
Let's talk about what this VIP lounge was. So you had an Xbox 360 that could play Halo 2 or 1.
Yeah, it was actually a Master Chief Collection, so yeah. So it was the original Halo, the 4 Halo games, yes.
Which had a couch and some 2 display cases next to it where you could see some, we'll call it limited Halo collectible type things.
They try to make it like a game room, yeah. Light decoration though, very light, very plain.
Very light.
Think very plain conference room walls with a bookshelf that really seemed out of place, with very small Halo trinkets on each shelf.
And some games.
A couple consoles.
And then there was another console
on the other side of the wall.
On the other side that I believe was an Xbox One X, where you could play.
That also had Master Chief Collection. They're both playing, yeah.
Okay. And
then they also had a 2-player variant of the Fireteam Raven, so a smaller set.
Yes, and
yes.
So that was the extent of what was in to play.
They also had some food.
They also had some chips.
Yep, they had some chips, and they
had a Wild Bill refill machine there.
Yes, with complimentary mugs and complimentary refills all 3 days.
The mugs were there all 3 days?
Yes.
Okay.
We just didn't go. We didn't see it until later on.
And they didn't put them out until later in the day either.
Yes, we didn't find out about that. And you also get a goodie bag of sorts too that had 6 months of Game Pass Ultimate and a gold Master Chief Collect pop vinyl.
And inside the room they also had the Halo game that you could play and some Halo picture books that you could look through as well.
Oh, Halo board game. Yeah, some kind of Halo card. I didn't know what that was. Some sort of strategy game, but we didn't play it though. So that's what the VIP gets you. It also gets you 1 hour early and 1 hour late. To me, the Game Pass kind of makes up for it because Game Pass Ultimate's $15 a month. You're getting 6 months for that. So that to me is your VIP price. But in terms of a VIP experience, you're not going to get that there.
So let's also talk about the pop. Let's give a little bit more detail there. So this pop that is supposed to be a VIP exclusive was also for sale at the merchandise shop.
It was.
So let's clear that up now.
So if you want a deal on Game Pass Ultimate, this is something you want to buy. If you're planning on buying Game Pass Ultimate, you might as well go ahead and splurge on the VIP ticket. You get in an hour earlier, which is very important. We'll talk about in a minute.
Yes.
You're also going to get the figure and limited bonuses, but you never really felt, I can't speak for everyone, we never felt like VIPs per se. There's no fast pass in any lines or anything like that. Very, very brief experience.
You also get a one of the nylon string backpacks.
Yeah, it's like a little
that says
backpack.
Halo Outpost Discovery. And the dog tag that you get is a slightly elevated, a little bit more detailed than the one that is given to the general admission.
Yes, it actually has a metal silencer on, or
it's got a
rubber silencer on it.
And
So
I think it's engraved with some stuff in the back that the other one isn't. So it's a little bit nicer.
nothing that I think you're going to see on eBay that's like, oh my god, nothing on the lines of like FanFest or something like that. So keep that in mind. That's kind of the difference between the two. So
let's talk about how we actually started going. So Jim initially bought us Saturday VIP passes.
yes, just Saturday, because I didn't know at the time they released the schedule later with different events each day. We didn't know that.
Right. So the weekend before, Microsoft had a tournament, and they said that the first 10 people who showed up could get a free day of Halo Outpost Discovery.
Right.
So we showed up, us and 5 of our other friends. They actually, while we were there, did not give away all 10.
Correct. Yeah. So very limited engagement. So if it's coming to your area, keep an eye on your local Microsoft Store website, store events, because you might be able to get in for free.
Yeah. So we actually both got a ticket where we could bring a guest.
So
It's you and a guest. So we took that for a general admission on Friday and then also on Sunday. So
if
we
you bring
technically were able to go to this event 3 days.
And we didn't go all 3 days. So
Spoilers.
Let's get back to the event. Okay, so we had tickets. We didn't use them all. Let's talk more about the event. Let's talk about the app. So the app, leading up to it, they hyped that you need to download the Outpost Discovery app. And among other things, it has augmented reality, so you can scan different parts of the event. All the games that you play and all the events that you do, you scan or you link it to your badge barcode, which tracks your progress. And in theory, what it's supposed to do is give you rewards for competing, finding hidden barcodes around the event, checking in at each different event,
scoring a certain number of points
in
doing all
games,
of these
etc.
things. And as you go through the ranks, you can get some physical rewards.
Correct.
So really cool idea.
Right.
Something that incentivizes you to explore this entire event, look hard at things, and also try hard.
Right.
At the events.
Yeah. So it sounds like a cool idea. It's this augmented reality, something that Kiki Wolfkill definitely implemented, is this whole transmedia thing, where Halo is more than just the games. It's the books. It's the anime. It's all the extended universe lore. So they took that element and they put it here.
So sounds awesome, right?
Yes, it sounds really cool. But what happened?
Let's talk about what happened, right? So initially, you were supposed to be able to link it to your Xbox Live account.
Yes.
Well, so that didn't work leading up to the event.
Correct.
So what did they do?
A lot of people actually got locked out of it altogether. You were going to get some avatar words for your character.
So what did they do? They didn't fix it. They just deleted that part.
Yeah.
Because why would you want to do that?
It's overrated.
Why would you fix it? Just get rid of it. So
some people got avatar awards, some people didn't. The app itself did not work very well. It constantly crashed. I have an iPhone, you have an Android. Constantly crashing.
Couldn't get into it.
It drained your battery extensively. The scanning of the barcodes didn't always work.
Was inconsistent at best. The registering of rewards was...
It didn't always work. We went on a couple of events, which we'll talk about in a minute, and they scan your badge, you went through the event, and then you check your app later and you didn't get credit for it.
We also went to events where they wouldn't scan your badge.
Yeah, they didn't have time or
or it
whatever.
was broken or whatever.
So the whole augmented reality thing for some people may have worked. For us, we did a lot of stuff. We didn't get as much progress since everything is tiered rewards. I think we ended up getting 2 dog tags and a pin.
Yes, so I was highly disappointed by this. First of all, I enjoy the aspect of collecting things, right?
Yeah.
So it's cool, it's neat. I also did well in events.
Yes.
And at one point I was number 9
in the
rankings of everyone.
Yeah,
so you can actually check leaderboards, so you can see how you scored against other people and see where your overall rank is against others. So at one point I was number 9. And with the 300 points that I didn't get registered to my account, I would have been number 1, which also likely would have taken me to get another physical reward.
Right, which you never got.
It never registered that I did these events.
We waited around
nothing.
We waited around for about half an hour, kept opening and closing the app. They had
it was
these.
more like an hour and a half because I really wanted my stuff.
We kept waiting for these barcodes to trigger. They never triggered. I would scan something, it wouldn't actually register to my phone.
Then the app would lock you out. So when you went to redeem something at the information center to get your physical reward, you would stand there and look like a jerk for 5 minutes while the app wouldn't load or crashed on you,
right,
or took forever to load actually what your progress was.
Yeah, it was very hastily put together, and since that was kind of the backbone of the event and it was supposed to be this interactive experience throughout the event, it was really more of a hindrance than an excitement. Yes, we did get a couple small things, but understand, if you're only there for a day or two, it's not even worth using. I wouldn't even bother with it, honestly.
And it was really inconsistent because we would both scan the same things, right? We went to the event together.
Yeah.
And some things would register for me, some things would register for him.
Right.
It was totally random. I actually wound up having to go back and rescan all of the AR things within the museum,
right,
or the halls of history, because one of them didn't register, and there's 22 of them.
So that's a good transition into some of the events. So leading up to it, they hyped all these different events. So we're going to talk about them, not necessarily in the order they're displayed, because each city will be different. But I guarantee when you walk in, the first thing you will see is this giant statue of the Master Chief. And that is what they call the Halls of History. And inside there are all these augmented things you can scan that have videos and different snippets. It had the Master Chief model. It had an Elite Brute. An Elite. It had the Warthog, and it had the flag from the Halo Reach trailer.
It also had the other statue of... Who was? Oh yeah, you're right. Yep, a Brute. And then also one of the other cool things that it showed was the sizes of different enemies.
Right.
So that you could see. Okay.
Yeah, Brute is like 7 foot tall. A Grunt is like...
Grunt's about my height.
Right.
So kind of cool to see that stuff and be able to take a picture and see. Okay, this is how I stack up against somebody. So that's kind of cool.
The museum part of it, I think, could have been a lot cooler if it.
Could have been?
It didn't have a lot to it. Other than those statues that I mentioned.
So it had a couple of statues, then it had a couple of replica
It had a lot.
guns.
There were a couple. There was an AR and there was a Magnum in a case. It also had the Reach helmet that was at the end of Noble Six's helmet. But outside of that, everything else was just pictures. And there was a lot of AR stuff that you would scan that would pop up. In terms of stuff you could see, you would walk through this and probably see everything. I'll say if you're a slow reader, you would read everything in 10 minutes if you're a slow reader.
Yeah, it was...
Really. There was not a lot there. There was 4 panels.
And you might be thinking, oh, well, that's because they have stuff scattered throughout the event that you can see.
No.
No.
It was very empty.
So
very, very empty.
So let's talk about first impressions, though.
Okay.
So when we initially walked in, there's this line to go through the metal detector. Note for anybody who's going with a partner, either don't bring a bag
or split up
and let the person who has no bag go through the no bag line
and hold your spot.
Get you a spot in line because you're going to want to be in line.
Yeah.
So that's tip 1.
Yeah.
We walked in, and immediately before you even get into the event, you see an information desk. Mm-hmm. Okay, that's good. What else is out there in this vast...
So if you saw my video before, I broke down in the Orlando Convention Center. It was in 3 separate halls, A, B, and C, or 1, 2, and 3 rather. Hall 1 was the back, maybe 8% or 10% was the food court. There was the 405th Armory and the information desk.
The back 50%.
That was
the food court.
No, I'd say 8 because it was you walked up to it. There was a little bit of food court, and that was it.
But that was like 50% of the area.
Oh yeah, so it was very barren. So you look at this on paper and you think, wow, this is going to be huge. The whole first area was just like a queuing space.
Yep.
So you walk inside. That's where the halls of the. So as you're talking first impressions, keep this in mind. As you're walking through, you're not going to see a lot because there's not a lot to see. It's not like there's decorations everywhere. No. It's not that Times Square or Vegas experience where there's a lot of theming and there's stuff everywhere. It's very barren convention center, boring walls.
It's not E3.
No. Not
it's
even
not
close.
like any other convention that you've
No.
been to,
No.
where things have been packed in and you're walking through tight spaces. No, there's plenty of room to spread out,
Yes.
and there's still plenty of room even when everybody gets there.
Yes.
Because guess what everybody's doing?
Waiting.
In very small queue areas that don't have any carpet on the floor.
Yeah, you're gonna
so
stand a lot.
Two.
Bring a nice pair of
Tip
shoes or a
two.
chair.
Bring some nice shoes.
And a
or
chair.
bring yourself a little stool, a little camping stool. Would have been nice when we were waiting in line for anywhere from 2.5 to 3 hours per event.
For every event. So the first event that we hit was the ring experience, and that was in the center. That was supposed to be the definitive experience by 343 Studios' own words. This was supposed to be the be all end all. This was going to give you a life. It's going to walk you through what a Halo ring is.
So let's talk about the number of times this ride broke down while we were waiting in line.
A lot. And we could tell it did because the line would move and then it would stop for 20 to 30 minutes at a time.
So clearly the ride's breaking down.
Yeah.
So we waited in line for this for approximately 2.5 hours.
We completed. So
the best thing about this is that there is carpet on the ground.
Thankfully.
So while you're standing,
you could sit and rest.
You could
so maybe do it later in the day when you're tired. You can sit and lounge out a bit.
Yeah.
So the tour itself is a 4-part tour. You wear headphones. You walk through 3 separate rooms. The first room is a really chintzy diorama cutout of the ring. A very small cutout of what the ring looks like.
With a very nice cloth backdrop.
Yeah, sure. The second part is of a sentinel. And the third part is a room that has different cases of a...
And when he says different,
3 cases, yeah. You get to see Guilty Spark 343. You get to see a little drone, and I don't even remember the other thing. It was not. I
don't either. It was
a little flood spore, and I don't remember the third thing. And it was just bad.
So the big thing though is make sure you scan all of those 3 things because they are part of the app rewards.
Correct.
So
after you go through let me finish it.
So make sure you do it because if you don't, you're going to stand in line and wait again to have to do it.
So when you walk through that, then you go to what they call the ring experience. It's a giant dome that has a projector of you flying through with...
So you're getting excited, right? Because it's a dome experience. This should be amazing.
Yes, you fly through. They've implemented this new technology. They call it the Honeybee. It's something that wasn't in UNSC lore before, but it's basically a drone that UNSC has built to explore alien planets. So you're going to go on part of a drone tour, and you're going to fly through and see a ring being built or like how a ring works. And it's supposed to be this 360 video. You look up. You're supposed to fly around. You're wearing these headphones. There's no motion or anything. And
there's also no place to sit either.
It was also a basically it was supposed to be this nice maybe 2-minute video, but because I don't know why the projector overheated or something, it kept skipping. So it wasn't. It looked more like a flip book.
So
and it was very disorienting.
It was also not a very high resolution.
No, it was very blurry. It was very blurry. And it wasn't. It didn't teach you anything new that you didn't know.
It only looked good from the front. If you actually looked around, which I spent a lot of time doing, you could see there was a lot of motion blur. There was a lot of tearing, which
it probably didn't need. It probably didn't need to be a dome. Really, it could have probably just been like a movie theater experience. But that was our first impression of something we did after walking through the museum or the Hall of History. That line, again, it was probably 2.5 to 3 hours. You will walk through and see that entire thing in about 8 minutes.
So when they started, they were letting 12 people through. We went through when they were letting 12 people. Towards the end, they started allowing 20 people through. So it was moving a little bit faster.
So maybe by the time it comes to your area, they'll let more people in, but it wasn't that great. Okay, so...
It was not... Definitely not one of the top things. It actually, for me, was probably my least favorite thing. It wasn't worth it.
So 0 for 1 on that one. Let's move on. We went to the laser tag next, and this was basically
laser tag. So everybody thinks laser tag should be awesome.
This is a combat experience. You put a thing on your head. You get an augmented battle rifle, and it was, I believe, 17 on 17.
It was so they had upped it. It was supposed to be, I want to say either 13 or 14 on.
It was very crowded.
They upped it to 17. So they put a sensor around your head.
And you had one on your gun.
And you had one on your gun.
And it was very crowded. And what was supposed to happen was it was laser tag, basically. You could run around and shoot and everything. The problem is, and I think it's because of the count, because they're trying to get more people through. The problem is it didn't always register, or it seemed to lag. Yeah. So you would be, when you died or you ran out of ammo, you go to the back corner and you would respawn. Your helmet would light up, or your visor would light up, and your gun would light up to indicate you could start playing again. You would be standing in respawn, which is basically, think of a corner of a room with a wall in front of you. It's supposed to be a safe zone, and you're getting hit. Or you're dying.
Yeah.
It didn't make any sense. And I think it was just lagging from you getting shot 10, 15 seconds before.
So almost none of my hits registered.
Same.
So
very laggy, very broken. And the worst part is the queue time, again, extensively long. They only had one set of guns.
They had one set of guns, which is a problem.
Yes.
So I think they actually had 2 areas to play. So there were 2 full setups. So you could queue in 2 different lines.
Right.
When we started the queue, it was actually a short line.
Right.
There was probably about the same amount that could have been put into the queue when we actually started.
I agree.
And we waited 2.5 hours.
We played, I think, total of 7 minutes. I think it was, we played 2 rounds, a BR round and a sniper rifle round. I think each was about 3 minutes.
So I believe that the laser tag experience broke down 4 times while we were waiting for 2.5 hours.
Yeah,
and
they played the Halo.
Broke down, I mean, it was down for 45 minutes.
Yes,
or 30 minutes.
They would queue, as you're standing in line, you can hear over the wall, and they'd play the Halo 3 combat music and the famous Warthog Rung music. And you would hear it. You would hear it stop, and you could also see who's scoring. You could hear the announcer talking,
and you could also see whether red or blue was winning on the outside.
Yeah,
so if
and
there
that was
nothing
all
up,
off.
Nothing was happening.
So because they only had one set of guns, the efficiency of moving people through is incredibly slow. What ended up happening was the people would play, and while they were playing, the next group of people in line had to stand there and wait. They had to take everybody's guns off, clean them off, hand them to the next group. They put them on walkthrough. So you were talking,
and then they had to teach you how all the stuff worked. They had to tell you where to go.
You were talking probably 10 to 15 minutes in between rounds of wasted space. Had they had a second set of guns, that line could have been cut significantly.
Yeah.
And it was extremely frustrating because it didn't last very long. Just by the time you kind of started to understand it, it was over.
So also, the other issue that I had with the gun was they had a reticle on it, right? So you're supposed to have this laser reticle that kind of helps you figure out where you're
if you want to use
aiming.
iron sights, correct.
Well,
it didn't work.
It didn't work.
Mine kept flickering on and off as well.
I could never get mine to work.
So
they also have a button on them where you can change to use a beam rifle as opposed to a sniper rifle in the second round. Whether it was more powerful or not, couldn't tell you. But that was something that was suggested to us. Our team lost horrifically.
Yeah, we got slaughtered. I did good on the sniper. I went 10-1 on snipers, which is funny because I'm a horrible sniper in Halo. But it wasn't
laser tag.
So
good to go.
If you want to do laser tag, this is not the place to do it. It was there was no Halo theming. The gun didn't even. It kind of sort of looked like a BR, but there was really no Halo theming other than the Halo music playing in the background and the fact that they said you were shooting a BR.
Well,
this didn't feel like Halo.
Well, but it did have the shield. It had the Halo shield, and you could hear the shield as it ran down. So a little bit different, a little bit of a Halo twist on it.
Lame. Not for 2.5 hours. Absolutely not. So the next thing we played was the target, and this was target practice.
Target range.
So what this was is you had a Boomco gun, same Boomco guns I have hanging on the wall. You could either pick the Magnum or a SMG.
Yep. And
you shot at a touchscreen television, and if your dart hit the target, you would get points.
Yes. So this was probably, to me, one of the experiences that, because we didn't have to wait as long.
Right.
We actually played this twice.
We went through the line very rapidly because they had 8 stations, which they could have had more. We'll talk about station count at the end of the video for suggestions on future events.
They had plenty
of guns.
Of each type of gun. They had plenty of
goggles.
Plenty of darts.
So they were moving people very rapidly.
Through. I think you got 3 minutes to play, maybe?
Yeah, that sounds about right.
But
there was a lot of problems with the gun registering a target. You'd shoot a target, it would hit, and it would make the noise and the sound effect on your target, and you wouldn't get points for it.
So I think the calibration on the touch screen for some stations
I agree, was
off. I played on one where it wasn't.
And you did great.
And I did really well.
I couldn't get over 500 points.
I got almost 2,200 points. Also, Tip number 3.
Play on easy.
Play on easy.
They move the targets closer
Targets
and there's no
are
penalty.
closer. There's no penalty. You get a whole bunch of points. Why not take it?
So, but you think of, again, you're thinking of Halo, you're thinking of all the fun and everything. Nothing here is screaming Halo to me yet. So we went on.
So the targets had pictures of grunts on them.
So we moved. There were 2 other events there. We also played Pelican training. Now Pelican training is they put you 8 people in a Pelican drop pod, and
so when he calls it a drop pod, I'm gonna call it a shipping container.
it was there. Everything was a shipping container, and what you had to do was basically the Pelican was damaged, and everybody had to take a station. And it was basically a sequence of pressing buttons, knobs, or levers, and you had to communicate to people. So Station 7, which was my station, would pop up and say, okay, everybody has to press button B2. And all the other stations are saying waiting orders. So I'd yell, everybody hit B2. Everybody hits B2.
Problem is we're on opposite sides.
And they're blaring this music so loud. I'm a very loud person. I am screaming at the top. I bet everybody else in the whole world could hear this. I'm yelling. B2! And I was like, oh, okay. And then Rachel's yelling. I can't hear her. So you have to run back and forth.
I couldn't hear him either. But you don't realize what you're being scored on and all of this until after it's over.
Yes.
They also don't clarify what you're going to do. The setup on it was poor. We believe that there was some malfunctioning equipment as well.
Yes. The buttons, I had a couple. The only reason we did well and got to the second phase was because there was a guy in there who had already played the game earlier, and as we're getting ready to play, he's telling us what to do. We're like, oh, okay, thanks.
Yeah.
Had we not known that, we would have failed, and once you fail, you're done. So there's 3 phases, so we only got to see, like, at most half or like 2/3 of the ride.
Yeah.
So we never saw phase 3.
Yep.
And what ends up happening is because some of the switches don't work, if all 8 switches don't activate, the game's over. So for me, I'm flipping the switch trying to do. I know what I have to do, and the stupid computer's not registering.
And you get a certain amount of time, and when you fail a certain number, you don't go through.
And that's not how Pelicans work anyway, which is so frustrating. If you played Halo, you know there's one pilot.
So good news, though. We didn't have to wait very long for this because we went and did this on Saturday morning during the first hour where we had our VIP pass. So we were the first people.
So I can't say the normal line, but I'm going to guess 2.5 to 3 hours.
Oh, 2.5 to 3 hours. Oh, yeah. So we deliberately didn't do it on Friday because of how long the line was.
The last event that was there was called the Covenant Escape Room. And
so
this
isn't the last event. There's also
there's VR. 2 more. There's VR, yes. Covenant Escape Room.
Let's save that for last.
Okay, that was the last thing we did. Okay, we'll talk about the VR next. The VR was a 3-on-3. Again, keep in mind queue times here. 3-on-3, 3-minute matches. Imagine how slow that is.
So I got to give them credit.
It was good. They had multiple sets of equipment.
2 sets of equipment.
So you could gear up while the next team was going.
But let's talk about what they didn't have. They didn't have 2 separate simulations to run.
Yes.
So while you're getting your gear on,
yes,
they actually can't give you all the instructions that they need to give you.
Correct.
Because you can't actually put your headset on yet.
Right. So what ends up happening is it's a 3 versus 3. This is virtual reality. To me, this was the coolest, most immersive thing there. You put on a wireless backpack with a headset, and you walked around in an area that had like walls, and you did basically 3 versus 3 deathmatch.
Yep.
With plasma rifles.
Yep.
You basically looked like you were just the Master Chief's helmet and body, so you could see other players. So you didn't like run into them.
Well.
Except for Rachel, who crashed into me probably 100 times. And you basically played laser tag in a virtual environment. It was fun. I really enjoyed it. There was no VR sickness because as you're walking in real life, you're walking in the game. And they kept changing the barriers. There was an announcer who was talking to everyone. He was really funny, really energetic.
He was really good.
We had a great time with that. To me, that was the most fun thing, and it was also the most Halo thing.
I also had a great time because I totally carried our team.
Yeah, you got 4 kills, 5 deaths. I was 2 and 8. I don't know why.
We got slaughtered.
We got slaughtered. 19 to 9. We got slaughtered.
But
you did great. So that was
Trying to team.
that was fun. So to me, that was the most exciting.
So also, we may be slightly biased in this because we really didn't have to wait on this one either. We waited
Thanks to
probably
VR.
about 20 minutes.
Yeah, it was one of the first things we did on Saturday
Because this
morning.
was the second thing we did Saturday morning.
So we'll talk about now the final finale. The last thing we did, the Covenant escape room.
So before we went, I was super excited about this. This was the one thing that I wanted to do. I was like, wow.
Yes.
I love escape rooms, and to see an escape room that was Halo themed, I was like, "This is gonna be amazing! This is gonna be awesome!"
Now this
I'm
is
so excited.
This is supposed to be you're learning how to break out of Covenant ship. You're on a mission. Things go horribly wrong. You have to get out. The Covenant's sending a kill squad to hunt you down. You have to escape.
So let's talk. First, how long did we wait for this?
3 hours. And we beat the event in, I'm going to say, 5 minutes.
And now, you might say, okay, 5 minutes isn't bad. But it took us 5 minutes because the AI glitched in every single room we were in.
So I'm going to just walk you through the puzzles because this is how basic boring they were. The first room, you had to turn a knob.
So the first room, there were three patterns on the wall.
You turned a knob until the colors turned blue to red.
Right.
And then a secret panel came down.
No, you were supposed to pull it down.
There's a person walking you through this who's like a Halo rep, and she pulls the panel down. It gets stuck. She's like forcing it down.
Yep.
It comes down. That's the first room. You turn knobs. I am not kidding. It is the most.
Hold on. There's a little bit more to it. So the second wall, you have to turn the knobs, turn them from blue to red again.
Oh, there's a memory sequence.
And then in the back of the room, there's a memory sequence.
Yes.
So it shows you some buttons, and
you
then
have to
you have to press
them in order. You're right.
We probably went through, I would say, about 6 iterations of that, and there's a total of 4 things you have to remember each time.
Yes. Imagine like a dial with like 12 buttons on it, and it'll be like 1, 3, 4, and then you have to hit 1, 3, 4.
So it was a complete 360. There were probably
maybe 24.
24 of them.
It's around that. So, the count's irrelevant. The important thing is we did it.
So we did
but the game it didn't register.
And it glitched.
It glitched.
Or
yes.
we completed it so fast that it wasn't expecting that, and so it glitched.
So there's a canned AI voice line telling you what to do in the background, but once you complete the event, it's like, good job. So imagine one thing's telling you what you're supposed to do, and the other, it doesn't stop. There's no interrupt. The second thing's telling you, good job, let's move to the next, and you're hearing like 2 voices at once, and it's like, the immersion's totally destroyed at this point.
Well, not only that, but it gets confused, so it doesn't open the next door to the next room. So you're standing there, and you turn to look at the staffer, and you go,
what do you want us to do?
What's wrong?
And she's like,
I think you did it too fast.
Yeah, so just wait until the second message finishes, and then it's like, good job, now let's move through. And it's like, okay.
So now we move to the next room. Now this room
was
is
really dumb.
This is probably the winning room.
You had, you know those games when you play at like Dave & Buster's where it's a light spinning and you press a button when the light passes through a thing and you get the prize? It was that.
Yes, so there are...
That's all it was. That was the escape room. That was it.
So it's on both sides of the wall, right?
Yeah.
And there's 3 buttons, so you do that, and you probably have to get it right 6 or 8 times.
Yeah.
Okay, not a problem. So then you assume that you're going to move on to the next side of the wall and do it over there. No. The door then opens.
Yeah. So the
After waiting for another minute for it to realize that you've completed it.
So I think the room is designed that the doors are gonna automatically open after a minute or 2. So if you just stood there and did nothing, you'd probably beat it. And again, the AI was talking over itself.
So I was really trying to get a bunch of points so that I could advance to the next rank.
Which you got 0 of, by the way, because the app never updated our points.
So I was legit trying. So we get into the 3rd room.
The 3rd room is supposed
the 3rd and final room.
Yeah,
so
3 rooms.
Before it starts talking, I start looking around, and they've got these
They're like these. Think of like an ATM.
Think of like the old bank
ATM
chambers.
with a little crystal, like a Coke can. You open the Coke can and you place it in one of 3 slots, and it lights up.
It's like a little hand weight. So you can spin them. So I've already got these bad boys out before they even give us any instructions, right? And so then I look, and there's some slots that look like they'll fit. So I put them in.
It lights up.
One of the 3 lights up. Okay, so I switched the other 2. Now they all light up.
Ta-da.
Okay, cool. So now what? So we've also noticed that there's some slots that have some pieces in them, right?
Yeah.
So then we start to put it together like it's a puzzle. It's not a puzzle. Okay. There's slots in the wall where those pieces go.
And they fit inside the thing.
And only 2 are out of 12.
So within
12
so we're in a group of 6 people. Probably within 10 seconds, we've already determined that the pieces, we've already tried to do the puzzle. We put the pieces in the door, they fit. We think we're going on to the next room or the next area. And the woman's like, try to pull them out and push them in at the same time.
Do all 3 of them at the same time.
There's just 2.
Well, no, all 3 of the...
Oh, you're talking about the cylinders?
The 3 cylinders and the puzzle pieces at the same time.
We spent probably a minute and a half doing the same thing over and over. Again, the AI bugs out. As it's telling us what to do, it says, congratulations, and the door opens. It was a total disaster.
And that was
and that was it. And then you walk out and you're done.
That was it.
So everything about that event, I think, encapsulates my opinions on Outpost Discovery, which to me was just totally half-assed and broken.
Wait, you haven't talked about the merch store.
Oh, okay. Well, so those are the exhibits. Those are the things that are supposed to prepare you for being a Spartan. You're going to go off and get all this training, and you can fly pelicans and escape rooms and shoot guns and combat.
So there's some other things.
So there's other things there, one of which is the merchandise counter.
Merch store. Okay.
Merch store, which I'm wearing. We're both wearing some of the merch. Yep. They had helmets, they had dog tags, water bottles, shirts,
backpacks,
costumes, whatever.
Comics, Mega Blocks.
The biggest problem we had, and not the fact that the lines weren't evenly balanced with employees, I don't care about that.
Oh, that's hold on. That's a major issue. Okay. So we're standing in this line, right?
Yeah.
There's probably
8 lines, probably.
It was gonna go 6, but okay. So each one is supposed to have 2 people that pulls from it.
Except our line.
Except our line, because we got 3 people pulling from one over here and 3 people pulling from one over here.
Yeah, no one's helping us in the middle.
There's one person helping.
We probably waited at that merch counter for an hour to get a couple shirts. So I don't really care so much about that because it's going to depend on where you go. The bigger problem is I don't know why they didn't understand that people want to buy stuff. So everything you'd buy, they're like, well, we'll take your money, sure. But go stand over in this other area now because we have to go get it off the truck.
Right, so they didn't have enough of the helmets.
So the helmets and some other things that we didn't get were back ordered.
Yep.
And what they do is you take your money, then you go stand in another line. When they get the item,
they have to verify with the person who sold it to you that you got it. And oh, by the way, even though I have a receipt, it's not itemized.
No,
so they
it just says Halo $100.
So if the guy who sold it to me forgot
or took a lunch break,
SOL.
Yeah, so it was very poorly organized, and I don't understand why...
Well, sweetie, that's kind of the theme.
I don't understand why they didn't have a better presence of merchandising and staffing of people buying stuff. The other area that they had was they had a bunch of game stations set up running Xbox games, running Master Chief Collection. They also had PCs running the Reach demo that we got to play at E3. Very cool. They had a mixer stage, which... They had some voice actors and stuff come on. We'll talk about that in a minute.
Best thing they have at the mixer stage? Chairs.
Chairs. And they also had I'll call it a marketplace in the back. So they had a small area of Mega Blocks.
Yep.
They had a couple Fireteam Raven consoles set up so you can play that.
They had 10.
And they had a couple weird vendors that were doing like Photoshop and some other weird. The BR guy was there selling the laser. If you like the laser tag, you can go here and buy it.
So they also had some photos in the back as well.
They had some. I don't know if they're original art. They weren't for sale, but they had these really cool. They look like original paintings of the Chief and just various scenes from Halo. That was the entire event.
Well, almost.
Except for what?
There were also autographs.
So the autographs were a complete disaster.
Oh my gosh. So the first day, we were thinking we were going to do autographs, right? But we're over here standing in line for laser tag. And the autographs are supposed to happen about 2.5 hours after we get into that line. So as we start winding around in this line, you can see that they're already lined up for the autographs.
So we figured,
because the autographs are supposed to be taking place at the post exchange where the merchandise store is.
Right, on the backside.
Okay. So cool. So we see them starting to line up, and I'm like, okay.
Right.
Do we want to stay here, or do we want to go get autographs? Because there's a couple of, they're doing the autographs at a couple of times. So we kind of decided we're going to stick with the line.
Right.
So as it gets closer, the line gets longer and longer and longer, and it gets to the point where it's basically wrapped around the merchandise. I would say probably about 3/4 of the way around.
It was really getting to the point that it was unmanageable.
So at some point they decide they're going to cut that line off, and then they decide that they're going to give out raffle tickets.
So the people waiting in line first didn't necessarily have a chance to get an autograph as opposed to the guy who walked in 2 seconds before.
So not only that, but they cut off. They didn't give raffle tickets out to everybody, because I went over there probably about 6:45 because I was like, well, if they're going to do a raffle ticket, I might as well get a raffle.
Yeah, they weren't giving them out
there. No, they had already cut it off. Meanwhile, the event didn't start till 7:30.
So it was...
That was a colossal disaster.
How you could think that an autograph signing with Steve Downs and Jen Taylor isn't going to get you demand.
At a Halo convention.
The fact that they were only there for 1 hour, the fact that there was no official queuing, that they decided to go a raffle was a disaster. So on the second day, they got a little smarter.
People were livid.
There were, I really thought it was going to, there was a lot of yelling.
It got real ugly.
Really quick.
Also, nobody really seemed to know what was going on.
Not even the staff.
And it wasn't well communicated at all.
So they did learn on day 2. And day 2, they moved it to a separate room with a separate queue. They cut the line off at 60 people. That was it.
Well,
so I assume by the time it gets to another city, they'll be a little smarter. But how they couldn't think of this just goes to show how poorly this event was planned.
So let's talk about that autograph session, that second autograph session, because we were involved in that. We were there. Mm-hmm. So they told people to start lining up an hour ahead before the event.
Yeah.
Well, I've been to a convention before. That's not how it works.
No, you got to get there early. It's going to be, if you want to get a signature from anybody who's at your event. We also had Kiki Wolfkill, but she was taken off the list. They had Frank O'Connor, and they also had Bonnie Ross. If you want to get an autograph from one of these events, it's going to be part of your day. And plan on getting there, I am not kidding you, 3 hours early, waiting until they finally figure out what the heck they're doing. Make sure you're in the front 60 people in line, or they will turn you around.
So
if you're there for one day, this is going to be half your day.
So we wound up getting there about 2 hours early.
Yeah.
Even though they were standing there, you could see people were kind of gathering.
Yeah.
Not pre-queuing or starting any kind of line.
Thankfully.
Because that would not be allowed. But they were actually starting to tell people to disperse. Event
staff was telling us to loiter, don't make a line, or else. We don't know what the or else was. Ultimately, we ended up
I don't trust that.
We ended up waiting anyway.
So there were 3 people who had kind of clearly formed a line.
We just stood behind them, and
So I went over and sat down behind them because I'm like, if the line's going to start, this is where it's going to start.
Right.
I had him sit over there just in case they actually did make us disperse.
Right.
We wouldn't totally lose everything. So about 3 minutes after they told everybody to disperse and some people actually left, they said, okay, let's start a line.
It was so, even on day 2, there were smarter people. It was still completely unorganized.
So not only that, but they didn't tell people they were cutting the line off at 60.
Right.
So there were people who stood there and waited for some amount of time
before they finally
came out and said, "Hey, we're only doing 60."
When they cut the line at 60 at 11 o'clock, 1 hour prior to signing.
No, that was they cut the line at 10:45. People who got there at 11, like they said.
Too bad. They walked us in a separate room and locked the door and then watched us. And we weren't allowed to leave the room for an hour. Once we left the room, we were not allowed back in. It was the weirdest thing. So overall, I have to say, everything about the autograph signing, the events, everything, there were good intentions. Bringing Steve Downs and Jen Taylor together, cool idea. The fact that you're going to do a VIP bag to give away something to your most dedicated fans, cool idea. The fact that you were going to build this event and do a national tour to celebrate all things Halo, good idea. Unfortunately for me, every single element, a complete failure. If I could go back in time, I would not have gone.
Concept was great. Execution, subpar.
Absolutely broken on every level.
So let's talk about what could they do better. More everything.
Yes.
More. With the exception of waiting. We did plenty of that. We don't need any more of that. So
a lot of empty space. You
have 2 sessions of laser tag. Make 4.
Make 10.
Make 6. They had the room. VR. You had 2. Make 4. Make 6. Escape room. 1. There is absolutely no reason that escape room could not have been 4 or 6, because all it was a shipping container.
Yeah, and it probably Rachel and I probably could have built the. And if you think like, oh, they put a lot of design into it, and you feel like you're in a Covenant ship, you're not. Yeah. It's a lot of plywood painted purple. It's a lot of little cardboard, plastic, tchotchke kind of things.
So also,
this is something you could do in your home weekend in like a garage project.
And it also broke down a lot.
So they definitely could have upped the volume of getting people through. This should not have been a 3-day thing. This could have totally been done in an afternoon. And they took a really cool idea, and because they cheaped out, in my opinion, on the amount of stuff to do, it prolonged the event unnecessarily.
Yeah. And not only that, but it just made you tired of being there. It wasn't fun.
It wore us out. We didn't go Sunday.
It wasn't fun. You weren't by the time you got into something, you were going, okay, I've waited for 3 hours. This better be awesome.
Look, it's easy.
And
it's easy to hate. It's easy to be a Monday morning quarterback. It's easy to say, this is what I would have done. I get it. There's money involved. I understand they have a limited budget to do this, and that's why I keep going back and saying the intention was pure. The problem was people were not having fun there.
But 343 has all this stuff of their own.
They didn't bring anything from the official Halo Museum. Nothing. The ghost replica they have, the props they had from the infamous stop motion commercial, the 343 Legend commercials,
They didn't have anything that showed, show the histories of the games.
Nothing.
Give people something to look at.
I can't tell. I don't know who this event was for. Was it for people who know nothing about Halo to learn about it? Or was it for hardcore fans? I would say it was for neither. Because people who didn't know about Halo sure don't understand any more about it now. I really thought this was their national We're Sorry tour. And this was them building people up for Infinite. And I'm worried that, if this is what they think is passable for an event, we're in big trouble, guys.
Oh, it was their national We're Sorry tour. But it's We Are Sorry Scrubs, not We're Sorry for What We Did.
And it pains me because I'm a Halo fan, and I can tell you when we left early on Saturday, we didn't even use our bonus hour of VIP time.
We didn't even make it.
I think we left at, 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock?
We left, it was about 4:30. We spent a little bit of time over in the VIP room.
Of people walking out. There were so many people. Every ride we walked, every event we left. The first person who would, as we were walking out, the people at the end of the line,
is it worth it?
Hey, is it worth it?
Or no, it was, how long did you wait?
How long did you wait? Was it worth it?
Was it worth it?
And
the answer to that, to pretty much every one of those was 3 hours, no.
And everybody just was dejected, and everybody just was not having a good time. Do not believe the 1% of people who got these world-class, famous experiences where they got to play on stage or they got an autograph of their best friend walking around. I'm telling you, from a layman's perspective, just walking in the event, it was not worth it. And it's so incredibly frustrating because this had the potential to be amazing.
So
it really did, and it was not.
Each one of the events that they had, or the exhibits, on their own could have been amazing.
It could have been.
But they were poorly done.
Yeah, broke a lot.
There was not nearly enough of them. The reliability was not there.
You're right.
And oh my gosh, the organization,
it was just a disaster.
Was horrible.
And it was a failure on every part. It was a failure
on every level.
I agree.
There was nothing about it that was good. Even the merchandise was pretty substandard.
I'm sad that they had an opportunity to do something amazing and they blew it. So
now maybe it'll get better as they go to more cities.
I don't see how, unless they say, you know what, we need to triple everything at this point. But they're not going. There's no time.
So they don't have the time to do that. But I can tell you, when we went in for our Saturday VIP, the escape room was broken the entire first hour that we were there.
We walked over and the guy's like,
that was the first thing we wanted to do.
He goes, the line's closed. Why is it closed? The line's it's shut down.
What do you mean? You couldn't get it fixed overnight? Say what? So it was down for an entire hour.
Believe the horror stories you read about this. I don't think it's a good idea. So final thoughts. What do you want to say to people who've made it 48 minutes? What's the one thing you could say that cements your argument on this, and then we'll shut this down?
too much waiting. You can forgive a lot, but after waiting to see something for 2.5 or 3 hours, you're expecting greatness, and it's not there.
I agree with that. I think, to me, I think it was a lot of hype that had no delivery, and the event itself poorly run, both from a planning standpoint and from an actual execution standpoint. I really thought it was going to be more than it was, and disappointment, I think, across the board on every possible level. Yeah. So that sucks, but we wanted to be honest. We knew this video would go long, and it did. Yep. And we had a lot to say, and hopefully somebody watches this, and maybe we did our due diligence and somebody watches this and they save $1 and they don't go. Or 343 watches this and they think,
contacts us and asks us,
call us. We're clearly event planners, right? I mean, look, right?
So I may not be an event planner, but I do simulation.
We could have done better.
I can help.
We could have done better, and I think that 343 can do better, and that's what I want to close this video off with. I hope you guys learned something about this experience. I hope it maybe sways your opinion. I hope maybe these one-off photos that you're seeing online don't really clearly tell the story the way that this video does.
Or it at least tempers your expectations.
That's the best thing to consider. Thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you for coming and airing your grievances. We've said it all. We're going to shut this down now. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, we will see you guys on the other side. Very good.